Hello, signore e signori, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of Yogaphora Conversations, where we explore the crossroads of personal transformation, consciousness, purpose, holistic health, and the art of living a meaningful life. Today I have the pleasure of sitting with someone whose work is dedicated to exactly that, real embodied transformation, not just information. My guest today is Michael Chatfield. Did I say it right?
Yes.
Okay. A freedom coach, founder of the Liberation Experience. So he's more of a Awakening Your Potential Coach. That's this latest designation. And owner of Cash for Houses LLC. He's a father, a real estate investor, a spiritual seeker. In fact, we go to the same spiritual retreat or congregation place, which is the Center for Spiritual Living, and someone who has walked and transcended the path of addiction, emotional patterns, and feeling stuck. What I love about Michael's work is that he answers the deeper questions so many people avoid. Where am I stuck? What do I truly want? What would I be without my old patterns? And what would my life look like if I were fully free? Through his 6 months transformational coaching journey, Michael helps people break old patterns, release the past, rewire thinking, reconnect with purpose, and create a desired future from a place of awareness and not force. Awareness and not force. It reminds me of the work of Dr. Hawkins, Power versus Force. Michael and I first met at an ICAG meeting. For those who don't know what ICAG is stands for I Know a Guy or a Gal. It's a networking meeting event every month at Llewellyn's Pub. And we instantly connected through our shared love for yoga, holistic living, and the profound teachings of authors like Dr. Joe Dispenza, Dr. David R. Hawkins, Neil Donald Walsh, and David Deida. His passion for awakening human potential is genuinely inspiring. And before we dive in, Michael has an upcoming live event you will not want to miss. It is called Awaken Your Potential. Don't wait for the new year. It's going to be at the Rendezvous Cafe and Wine Bar in Old Fallon, Missouri on Thursday, December 11 at 6 p.m. A donation-based transformational talk about breaking habits, reconnecting with vision, and igniting change before the new year even arrives. Michael, welcome to Yogaphora Conversations. I'm excited to go deep with you today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure, my honor. Well, first of all, Michael, where are you from?
I'm right here from St. Louis, here by the airport.
Cool, so born and raised?
Yep, my whole life.
Cool.
I'm in St. Charles.
Okay, yes, you're based out of St. Charles.
Yes.
And by the way, here we are in Brentwood, Missouri, where Yogaphora LLC is located within Flex Time Fitness at the CIBC Place building right off Highway 40. So let's talk about a little bit of the broad concepts of your Awakening Your Potential coaching. So going back to a little bit of your past, what was the breaking point moment in your life when you realized something had to change?
Well, I didn't think there was too many breaking points. It was just an ongoing feeling of something that I wanted more, something better. Mm-hmm. It started when I was in construction, and I started studying and reading some books that was changing my mindset about money and working hard and hours for dollars.
Yes.
So my first initial desire or change was to move from the work hard for your money and use your money to work for you.
Right.
The second part of my transformation was I thought, money was the success. Right? Mm-hmm. I thought it was if I get money, I'm free from money, from working, then I would be successful. Well, there's a whole lot more to it,
yes.
And more of the holistic approach of life, where you might have a lot of money, but if you don't have good connections with your friends and family, or think there's something missing. Mm-hmm. So the second part of my breakthrough was the drugs addiction aspect of mm-hmm. alcohol and marijuana my whole life, smoking weed every day. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I had the success of breaking free from work, becoming an entrepreneur, but I didn't have the freedom from the addiction part of it. Mm-hmm. And
so there is a distinction between financial independence, which is what you were looking for. That was the goal you were chasing at the time.
Yeah.
Into a different kind of freedom that was more internal, more emotional, more about connectedness to the rest of the world at a more human level, rather than just trading time for money, as you said.
Correct? Because you could have tons of money and still not feel free. You can still feel lack.
Yes.
You could have all kinds if you don't have a holistic approach of life, you have one area that's awesome and one that's crappy, then you're still not going to be really free.
Yeah.
And once I realized success wasn't just money, it was more about joy and peace. The people that are like truly happy, they're the ones that are free, the ones that have peace in their life.
Correct.
That's success to me.
Wonderful, wonderful. And as you know, I'm a licensed massage therapist and yoga instructor. This is what Yogaphora LLC is providing as a service. And I often say that, I often repeat over and over to my students and clients that health is our first wealth. Now, health can be defined in different ways. We can have emotional health, we can have psychological health, we can have physical health. But health is our first wealth. You can be rich, but then you can, if you're too sick to spend the money, then what's the point of acquiring wealth and abundance and material possessions, right?
Yeah. I based on that, I believe that the two most important things in life is health and time.
Health and time.
If you don't have time, then you don't have time to spend your money, and if you don't have the health to enjoy life or the time, then you really don't have, success in life.
Absolutely. This already resonates so much with me and hopefully with our audience today. So in your pamphlet and also in your book called Freedom Now, which you guys can see here, you say that you have lived this work. You say, I've lived this work. So what does that mean for you personally?
I don't know that it's a past tense situation. I feel like I live this work.
You live this work.
But when it comes to life, it's about continuous growth. You never really just get there and you're done. Right? In the book it talks about being free from work, but most people, I'm not trying to help to be free so you can sit on a porch swing and watch the grass grow.
Yes.
It's about doing things in your passion. But yeah, the transformation that is, I did want it back in the day when I did my workshops. I was going to workshops 15 years ago, and I wanted to go to that workshop, and the switch would go on, and my whole life would be great. That's what I was looking for, but that's just not really how it works. It's a continuous growth thing.
It's an ever-evolving process.
Yeah, because when you're here, and you get here, you feel really good, but there's still more levels to go to, and it's a continuous growth path.
Yes.
So I feel like I'm just living the best life I've ever lived, but I still want to grow.
Of course, great. In yoga we talk so much about the power of now, how to release the emotional pain and suffering of coming from the past, and also releasing the anticipation of the future, which creates anxiety and more suffering. So, as most spiritual teachers, even contemporary, say, the only reality that we can possibly experience is the here and now. Absolutely. As we are living right now. Today is Monday, November 24, 2025. All right, so what was the first pattern you ever consciously broke, and how did that shift your identity?
Well, like I said about work in construction, that was probably the biggest thing. Most of my family and friends were all in construction, and that's kind of what I knew. So I didn't really I lived in a small circle. I had, a small amount of friends. We were close. Family the same way. So to be able to change out of the construction, the mentality of hours for dollars, working for a job and having a boss, I had to create a new identity around that. I had to create an identity around that's not who I am, even though I've lived that all my life to that point. So that's the first transformation of like seeing myself to be someone different as an entrepreneur.
Interesting. And did you get that concept or the idea from a mentor? For example, Tony Robbins everybody knows Tony Robbins, especially in the US. He says that in regards to identity, he says the most powerful force that drives the human personality is the need to remain consistent with the way you identify yourself. Right. So at the time, your collective consciousness of your family was to be in construction, right? So the environment you were living in shaped your will at the time. So you had to break free from that tribal consciousness, because that's what your family identified with. We are a family of construction workers, correct?
Yeah. And like I said, I was hanging out in bars, and that's what we talked about. We talked about our boss being shitty and paying too much taxes. Okay. Not one time did we ever look at tax laws or try to do anything different. We just blamed and complained. That's just the way it was. So, yeah, like you said, you mentioned Tony Robbins. One of the first things that helped me change my perspective in life was reading the book Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. That completely flipped the switch on the way I think about money and what I thought life was about. I knew guys, and we were in drywall specifically, and I knew guys that were in that for their entire life, and they looked run down. Most of them were divorced. They didn't, have a lot of money. It just looked like a hard life. And when I read that book, I realized that's not what I wanted. I mean, for some people, that's fine. That's what they signed up to be. That's what they like. I don't judge. To each their own. But for me, I just wanted something more, something different. And I started to really look at that.
So can I ask you? So you had to step from the collective to the subjective, right? You say you don't judge the behavior or choices of others, so you had to kind of look within yourself and see what is the best option that I have in this one lifetime I've been given, right? So you had to kind of step back a little bit, meditate, and reshape your vision for your life, correct?
Yeah. And that's what Awakening Your Potential coaching is about, is it's not for everybody, because some people like what they have, they like what they do, and I would love that for them. If they're happy and complacent with that, then I love that for them. There are people out there like I was back in the day, where I had this desire to change, and I didn't really know what to do about it. I knew that, but the desire is the first step. The decision to make your life different, that is the first step, because without that, we're not going to have that pull to read a different book, to find a coach, or to do something different, or maybe watch a different YouTube video or something.
Right. What year was the time that you discovered Rich Dad Poor Dad?
Ooh, that was early 20s somewhere.
No. What do you mean early 20s?
You talking about the book?
No. I'm talking about, when did you discover the book? When did you start reading the book?
Yeah, in my early 20s.
In your early 20s. Okay,
Yeah,
so we're talking about, I don't know, late 80s to the 90s?
You didn't date my age here.
Well, we're no spring chickens, both of us. So.
Probably around 2000, I guess.
2000.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Now, the reason why I ask is because, you first become aware of what you need to change, right? So you have to go from information to action. You have to turn information. So when did you first understand that information wasn't enough, that you actually needed a transformation, right?
Yeah, I mean, that was a big part of, big challenge for my life, because I used to think of myself, and probably still am, as a very analytical person. I liked the information. I liked gathering, reading more books and more workshops and stuff. But the application, like you said, the action part was tough for me, because, I think a lot of people have that, where they read a book and they get all these things they're supposed to do, and I was like, well, I'll do those later. And then you get done with the book and your life has changed, so you'll get another book. So there was application. The challenging part for me was I didn't really know anything about coaches. I knew about coaches because I was in sports, but not coaches that are outside of sports.
Right.
And it's funny how we look at coaches in that framework, because if you ever went to high school or college and you had coaches, you knew those coaches made you better in that sport. Like you trying to do that sport yourself is, you're only gonna go to the level but coaches can push you Trainers at the gyms are going to make
right.
you do more. They're going to make you do more push-ups or lift heavier weights or whatever. But in life, where we have all kinds of stuff to manage, maybe it's getting to work on time and managing your house or your kids or running, relationships or hosting Thanksgiving dinners. There's so much going on in life, and it's just you. You might have support, but in the end, it's just you to manage yourself. And life is, quality of life is very important. Vitality is very important. But we don't hire coaches for that. We're
right.
I'll just get this on my own,
So we start with a mindset shift, right? Mm-hmm. And also that requires one important thing, that is releasing or transcending the good or bad opinion of others. Because maybe your choices of behavior, stepping away from other choices that have shaped your background, your teenage, your early years into adulthood. So you step away from old patterns, right? Going to the bars, whiskey and hookers, if any. But you want to change you got to break the pattern, right? So when you think about letting go of the bad or good opinion of others, what is your take on it?
Well, I think it's very important because a lot of us want to blame others for our life. We're constantly, you blame your parents, you blame your friends, you blame your teachers or whatever, you blame the places you grew up. Mm-hmm. When you put blame out there, you're giving away your power, your control. Mm-hmm. And if you blame others, you're never going to take responsibility for yourself. So you're always going to be in the grasp of someone else's behavior.
That's right.
That's not having control over your life.
Right.
So
you think that leader must lead from example and an invitation rather than an imposition. Oh, look at me because I'm better than you.
Yeah, that's one way to think about it. I think a lot of people just want better in their life, but they feel like they can't because of other people's actions or beliefs about them, and that's giving the power away.
Right, that's a very interesting concept. Let's see, did you have mentors during your healing journey, or did most of it arise from personal exploration? You mentioned Rich Dad Poor Dad, right? Did you have others, or did you go to retreats, or?
Oh, tons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
name some.
Well, for me, it was I was a wrestler in school, and we had a really good wrestling team. I did really well, and so my coaches, I really appreciate my coaches for that. And then I had read the book, and then I started doing like group coaching stuff, and then workshops. Like I went to a Rich Dad retreat. I did a lot of real estate retreats and things. I read a lot of books on that, and then then I started getting into the more spiritual type of thing because I felt like there's something missing. Greg Braden was one of my first guys. I started with Tony Robbins.
Yes.
His little 2-disc CD, Awakening the Giant Within.
Yes.
So I just listened to that over and over and over.
Interesting.
And then found Greg Braden and then Dr. Joe Dispenza. But
the second one you mentioned, was it Greg Braden?
Greg Braden.
Yeah, is the one that teaches NLP, or am I wrong?
No.
Okay.
No.
So what is he known for? What other is?
He's basically a pioneer about his like MO is like going to other countries, talking to monks and looking at ancient texts and things and bringing that knowledge back to us.
Very cool.
Yeah, he's a good one to look into.
I will definitely.
But a lot of if I could go back, I would hire a coach to coach me. A lot of things was group sessions and things like that. Like even the real estate coaching was like group coaching and stuff like that. So it was when you do group coaching is good, but sometimes like in the real estate world it's like cookie cutter type of thing. And like here's the steps, you do this, you do this, you do this, you do this. Well, when it comes to people, they might not be making it in real estate because they're afraid to make the call or write the contract or so there's some like certain aspect about the individual that needs attention that just, you know, because in real estate, if you wanted to do real estate, the information is out there. Like it's step-by-step processes. You want to wholesale real estate, you want to rehab real estate, it's a step-by-step process.
You don't even have to go to university to learn that.
No, it's all YouTube University. Yeah.
AI can tell you that.
Yeah.
ChatGPT can tell you that.
But something in you says, well, who am I to make a contract or who am I to make an offer? So there's things that are missing about
inside, internally
of us. Yeah.
So it's the driver of the Lamborghini or the Ferrari that needs to change the shift of mindset, you know.
Yeah, I used to go to these real estate investor meetings, and I know there'd be 100 people in the room, and there'd be young, old, you know, educated, non-educated, and then you'd sit in the back of the room and say, well, they must have a rich uncle, or they must have some college, they must have some support system, or you would have some excuse that they had something that you don't.
Yes.
And then you'd make up this belief about yourself.
So most of these coaches, Tony Robbins, etc., will tell you to raise your self-worth. Just like you said, like, you know, information is available online for free, but it's about raising the level of consciousness of the individual, being able to realize how much power they have within, and realize I am capable, I have the power to shape my life, I have the power to make my own choices, being a legally adult person in a happy and grateful to be in a country where the marketplace is so fluid and dynamic, right? Just like you mentioned, you buy houses for cash, sell houses for cash. It's a very dynamic, fluid environment, right?
Yeah.
So understanding the dynamics between that, then you can really make this a beautiful playing field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then what you said about like the information and all that, I think the first step, as far as awakening your potential coaching, the first step with any self-development, personal development, is awareness.
Yep.
Like being aware of yourself, of like, what is it? First, the awareness of like, well, what do you want? Like, what's really important to you? And then the awareness of like, what do you think is holding you back? And then really digging into that, because until you look at that, you could have these desires and move forward, but you're not looking at what is the beliefs about yourself that's keeping you from that.
Yes. Do you know Jim Rohn, which was the mentor of Tony Robbins?
Yes.
I listen to his tapes every day, over and over.
Yes.
YouTube has already recognized the algorithm. As soon as I wake up, turn on YouTube, it already knows that the first lecture is Jim Rohn.
I love that guy.
And his first quotes is the one that I can always remember. Success is something you attract by the person you become. Right? So first you have to become an attractive person for the marketplace, for other people to recognize your potential. And in fact, the next question was about potential. What does potential mean to you in a spiritual, emotional, and practical sense?
Well, for the individual, it's what they want. For me, what was the question here?
I'll answer it again. So what does potential mean to you in a spiritual, emotional, and practical sense? Right, so the potential of being able to buy new experiences, right? You work hard for your money, but you use the money to potentially buy yourself a new retreat, a new experience. So if you value experiences over things, right? So this could be like one practical way to think about potential, right?
Yeah.
From your current position into something else, something bigger, something stronger, something more valuable. So in your experience, what is potential?
Well, for me, the potential was to make more money,
Yes.
to be free from working a 40-hour work week. I realized that I changed my belief of like, working what people call full-time. If you say full-time to most people, they'll say 40 hours. 40 hours. Because that's their belief of what full-time is. That's not like
a workaholic, some people would say 60 to 70 hours.
Yeah, but for the average person, 40 hours is a full-time work.
Yes.
But that's because we all believe that.
Correct.
Like my work week full-time is 15 hours. That's
15
my
hours.
belief. Like that's
1-5.
Why? Yeah, 15 hours. Why? If we put our mindset to that, then that's going to be our new belief, and we'll find ways to make that happen based on our belief. But the potential for me was money and then freedom. And then the potential after that, as far as like the emotional part, was peace and joy. That's kind of covers all that peace, joy, and freedom. And like I said, I used to think success was all about money, but now I realize if you don't have peace and joy, you don't have success. So for me, it's basically peace, joy, and freedom.
Right. So can you define how you help them? How do you help people define what freedom actually is? And most importantly, what keeps people asleep or disconnected from their potential of becoming free?
Well, it's a two-part question there.
Yeah.
Well, as far as what people's freedom is concerned, that's based on their desires. Like I said, freedom. Most people think, well, if I'm not working, I got to do something.
Correct.
Well, what I like about the idea of freedom is that if you have the vitality and health, like you mentioned, you're going to want to do something with your energy.
Yes.
Right? And I think freedom, when you become free from the rat race, if you will, then you start to like really find out what you're passionate about in life. And when you're working in your passion, you're not really working. That's freedom, right?
I agree.
So when you realize what that passion and that purpose is, then you are free.
Yes.
And that's what we really need to get down and discover is like, what do you really want to do in your life? What I personally believe that most people live in this scarcity mindset of like, I need to make sure I got my stuff. I got to make sure, and I got to compete with people, and I got to, make sure I have mine. If you have more, then I'm going to have less. Yeah. They have this mentality of lack. But I personally believe that when you have enough for yourself, you naturally want to give to others. You naturally want to
overflow abundance.
Yes. You have the desire to give to others, and that might be through your music, through your art, through your charity, through helping others. That's freedom to me.
That is freedom. That's beautifully said. Jim Rohn said in one interview, he said that once you find your passion, you're not gonna have any problem rising up from bed early. He said, if you're going where I'm going, you'd be up early too.
Yeah, I love that. That's so true. That's so true.
Let's see. Why are people more afraid of their potential than their limitations? Why people are aware of becoming something else or someone else, and they want to just be, being stuck in their comfort zone, because our brain locks into a comfort zone. Yeah. The certainty of a paycheck, the certainty of a place to go to the steady. Some people drives on their way to work on a Sunday when they're day off, because now the brain has shaped the habit of going into one place over and over again. The brain validates itself through patterns, through habits, right?
Well, I think that the familiar is safe for most people.
Yes.
It's the unfamiliar, and especially like you said, the people that get in routines. If you look at the younger people, that are, let's say, 14 through 18 or 20, they want to try different things. They want to do things. They don't want to get stuck in routines. They want to try new things. They're still focused on their desires and their hopes and dreams. It's when we get locked into a pattern, it's like, okay, well, I have these bills. I need to make this money. The more I work, the more I have more money for my bills, the more safe I get. It's the creating the unknown. I mean, anyone that's went from a job to an entrepreneurship will say it's scary, because you think that this job is your safety, right? Yes. A big change for me was my brother, my dad, my uncle. We all worked for the same company since it almost started. My dad was with this company before it started, so we had like pool. Like if there was work, there was not a lot of work. We were working.
Right. So that was your power base at the time.
That was our safety, right? Safety. Well, at some point, this is where we'll always get money from. Every time we work, we'll get money. Well, at some point, the economy went to crap. There's no money to to be made. There's no drywall to hang. So that whole idea of safety, I mean, anyone could be working for a business and they go out of business.
Correct.
And now all of a sudden they're like scrambling about that safety net. But what you're talking about is like people get into they get into the familiar of like, well, I would rather like, it's not so bad mentality and still have money versus trying to do something different to change their situation, because it's scary. It's the unknown.
It is the unknown. And, it is the unknown. So it is a balancing act between, like a seesaw between certainty and uncertainty. You remember the 6 fundamental needs that Tony Robbins describes: the needs of the ego, love and connection, certainty, uncertainty, and variety. Yeah. And then the needs of the spirit, which are growth and contribution.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point. He says about the certainty, uncertainty. You need certainty in your life because you want to feel safe and all that, but you also need uncertainty, meaning you need some like variety, something that should shake you up. And I think that's I see a lot of people that they go through their Monday through Friday. Like Sunday night, you start getting a little like depressed because you got to go to work on Monday. You're not really looking forward to it, like you said, the opposite of what Jim Rohn was talking about. And then they kind of like Mondays suck. They use terms like hump day, right? The hump day is the middle of the week. And then the TGIF, it's Friday. And then they're very tired at the end of the week, but they're going to muster up that energy to go out and have some beers and stuff because it's Friday.
Of course.
And then you get to have fun on your 2 days. And then you start again.
And you're miserable again on Monday.
Yeah, and then you can pretty much make your coffee and drive to work with your eyes closed because you've been doing it for so long.
And
then that's the certainty aspect, but there's no uncertainty. Like, it's
in fact, I find it hard to catch people and pull them out of the habit. Like, for example, if I try to catch somebody's attention on a Tuesday morning in the hill, you'll probably find anybody on the road on the hill. Everybody is already locked into their office/comfort zone. So I'm glad to be able to explore these conversations with you today.
And based on that idea, I think for me, that's where the beer drinking and the smoking weed came into effect, because you're so just the same routine you can do with your eyes closed, so you do a little bit of drugs to shake it up a little bit.
Well, to look for an escape, right?
Yeah,
it's a form of escapism.
Or the numbing, I would say, to numb the idea of like, I'm not really truly happy. But the problem with that is there's no awareness to what you want. And then without awareness and the belief that you can have it, then you're stuck into that. I'm just gonna have some wine afterwards, take the edge off. I'm just gonna have a couple beers. I'm just gonna smoke a bowl a little bit, and then you're at the point where you're like, what do I have to look forward to? For me, when I was in construction, I would do a 1-week vacation, right? And then the first 3 days or 2 days, it was like, oh, I'm here at the beach, I can have some fun. But somewhere in the middle to the end, I started really thinking about what I wanted. And when I was thinking about what I really wanted, it wasn't to go back and hang more drywall. You know what I mean? It wasn't that.
I totally understand.
And I think a lot of people have that 1 to 2 weeks of vacation if they're working in a traditional 40-hour work job. That they get that 1 week just to unwind, relax. Some people just go on vacation and get drunk all week. They're not really having any awareness around that either. They're just trying to get away, if you will, vacate. That's what vacation is about. Vacate their life for a while. But until we really have that time, I think some points people get that uncertainty. They get laid off or something, and they start to really think about what is it that I want, and that's where the real change starts to happen.
Interesting. So now, I want to touch on emotional sobriety, right? So all of these patterns can create a form of addictive patterns, like you said, you need the alcohol and the drugs to take the edge off, right? Dr. Hawkins, my mentor, describes in the addiction and the recovery from addiction, and he sees drugs and alcohol as a mean to obscure the darkest aspect of life itself. only to shine the light on the bright, beautiful, higher notes of life, right? So you temporarily take the clouds away in by the means of using a substance, that is the drug or the alcohol, to remove the clouds temporarily, only to find out that unfortunately the effect of those drugs and alcohol or drinks are temporary. Because the effect of those substances wears off, right? You're still going to wake up the next day to go back to the same loop.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So what does emotional sobriety and physical sobriety mean to you? You mentioned you've been sober for many years, right?
Yeah.
So in fact, you drink decaf coffee. I just gave him a little cup of Italian espresso this morning, so he's breaking the habit, pulling him back into the caffeine. I'm joking. So this is very interesting, especially for my audience, because I'm always looking for holistic approaches to healing. Heal the mind first, and then the body will follow, because the body is just the support system for the mind and the spirit. Right? So, talking about sobriety. So, sobriety from the substance, and then eventually sobriety as emotional.
Well, sobriety to me, it's like it's a. I don't like the word so much, because I kind of like to think about healthy living. Sobriety means you're kind of like trying to quit something, versus healthy living is just of who you are.
An identity.
But like I said, to each their own. If you like to have a glass of wine after work, for me, I didn't mind drinking and smoking, because I did it for fun. Maybe I did it at a concert or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But then I started to do it for a purpose of trying to numb out a feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Where addiction in that comes from is that coffee is a very good, easy example. Is you feel a little sluggish in the morning because you're not working your passion, like you said about your room. So you go into some job that you don't like, or you just feel tired, and you say, I don't want to feel this way, so I'm going to do this. And then as soon as you correlate this with removing that feeling, then that's your go-to now. That's your habit. And usually it's like smoking weed, maybe even doing cocaine or beer or wine. So you say, well, I get home, I'm not feeling really satisfied with what I do, so then I'm going to drink a couple glasses of wine or a couple beers. And now you realize, oh, when I drink this wine, I feel different. I feel better. Mm-hmm. Well, the problem is you can't sustain that feeling. Correct. Because it's not natural. Yes. So you're going to need a couple more beers, because as soon as that wears out, but then our body starts to adjust to the alcohol. So now instead of 2 beers, you need 4 beers. Yeah. And then pretty soon it's an issue, and you're thinking, and the cool thing I learned about addiction is we always justify our actions, right? So if I drink 6 beers at 5 o'clock, and you drink a couple beers at 10 in the morning, well, I'm like, at least I'm not like that guy. At least I'm not doing like him. And we always find someone worse off to justify who we are. But if you look back at when look back at the kids, when your kid is having an issue, is upset, you don't here, let's get him a beer. Mm-hmm. Let's let him smoke a little bit of weed. You let the kid feel his emotions, cry it out. Naturally, you see what makes him feel better. And then also, when it comes to having fun, kids ain't looking for alcohol to have fun. Why do we feel like we gotta have alcohol to enjoy a concert or enjoy a barbecue? Why do we feel like these needs, when we were kids, we didn't need that stuff? Why not? Right? Because we have this feeling of once we start that action of well, wine makes me feel better, makes me feel more loose, right? Mm-hmm. Then you think, well, every time I go out now and I want to feel loose, if I'm going to go dancing or a concert or a barbecue, I need some alcohol. I need a little bit of weed. So we start to train our minds to feel like we need these substances to live. But in all, we were naturally at one point where we didn't need any of that stuff.
Absolutely. We were born with health. Yeah. It's just that we've made unhealthy choices that disrupted the health pattern.
We start training our brain is to feel awake, I need coffee. To knock the edge off, I need wine. Or, to have fun at a concert, I need
I wanted to ask you, so I'm sure you've done, meditation retreats. You do meditate, you stay in stillness, right?
Yes, sir.
And so, what role does stillness play in awakening potential? Like, if you look out the door, you see, like you said, the busyness of the city life. Everybody's chasing their own rabbits of fulfillment on a track of achievement because they live in this linear pattern of, I gotta squeeze the most dollars out of the time that I've been given.
Absolutely.
Right, so when you step away from the chaos and you find stillness, that's when more of the creative ideas and more of the awakening process is triggered or stimulated. So what role does stillness played and still plays for you today?
Well, I think for me and for everybody out there, I mean, we all have this, if we're not addicted to things, we got our phone in our hands.
Correct.
If the minute we have some time, we're like, well, I might as well check some Facebook or Instagram or whatever. We don't have that time to start to think about how we feel.
Yes.
So stillness is, to me, awareness. Like, until you're aware of like how you feel, why is this feeling coming up? Why do I feel like having a beer right now? Why do I feel like I need to be on Facebook or social media? Sometimes it's really difficult for us that are really busy to sit with ourselves for 15 minutes. 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And I think about a monk that said, and I don't know who said this or whatever, but someone, they were talking about meditation, and he said, I don't have 15 minutes. I don't have time for 15-minute meditation. He goes, well, then you need an hour meditation. Meaning that if we slow down and become still, we'll actually gain more time. We'll be more efficient in our life. And then when we get rid of these addictions of like, I think about how much time I spent drinking beer. Like how much time I wasted just getting drunk. How much time I waste on Facebook. How much time I waste on these things to the first step to me awareness brings is that our stillness brings awareness, and awareness is like the key to change, to like letting go of your past, knowing what your past is bringing up in you, and then actually knowing what you want in life, what's important, like what's true to you, like and then also the awareness around your beliefs, like what do you believe is true, and most everything that people say in factual terms, it's just a belief. It's just a belief.
Absolutely. Yes. So can I ask you, for example, in my yoga classes, as you know, the last portion of the class is dedicated to what we call Shavasana, right? The corpse pose, where you lay down in stillness. I have seen countless and countless of people that cannot stand in the last portion of the class. Some people actually either walk away or they're like fidgeting. They cannot really enjoy the stillness in class. For me, it's always been a sort of a creative channel. When I'm in stillness, but my brain is still awake, of course. It's you experience thought from a different dimension. You see the river of thoughts coming in. So, how has meditation and stillness, in your experience, have been a source of creative power?
Well, based on what you said about the yoga classes and that, it's funny that people don't realize is like no matter where you go, you're going to have to bring yourself with you.
Take yourself with you.
So that's why people are like, well, I don't like where I'm at right now. I need to change. I need to change my partnership or whatever. Or I need to go on this vacation. Well, I'm on vacation now. I need to get drunk. And it's because they're not able to sit with themselves, be with themselves. And that's because they have all these thoughts and emotions they haven't looked at and dealt with. But when you sit with that, what happens usually when you sit with that, you realize that's not who you are. Those things start to dissipate, those chatters. I was in a meditation one time. It was a really long meditation. I was in this retreat. And I had a really, really good meditation. I sank right into it. It was like so good. The second meditation that day, my mind was just racing with thoughts, and it's like, okay, stop thinking about that. Okay, here's another one. Here's another one. And then finally I said, you know what? Okay, mind, just think about everything you want to think about. Just give it all to me right now. Right. And as soon as I thought that, it all went away.
Nice.
Because I quit resisting that.
Right. And that's part of the letting go technique taught by Dr. Hawkins.
Yeah. So when you finally, the stillness, the meditation, or whatever maybe it's just a walk in nature, when you start to let go of all those things that you like, like you said about resentment or forgiveness and that, you start to like get really clear about what you want in life, what's important to you, what you want to do, and half the time, most people I know aren't doing what they want to do. That's kind of sad.
That's true. And the fact that we take ourselves with us everywhere we go, I am the embodiment of that truth. Like, I'm a transplant from Italy. I am the same guy that was raised in a small town. It was not small, but it's a city. It's called the city of Salerno in southern Italy. And when I close my eyes, and where I can zone out from the outer world, I can still see myself sitting in the same room where I grew up, right?
That's awesome. Yeah.
Another thing, so consciousness can be brought everywhere. It's very portable, regardless of geographical location. It is also one thing that I encourage my students to think about is that how important self-love is, loving yourself. And that's what in yoga we do, right? We take care of all aspects of our general fitness, balance, flexibility, strength, and stamina. And I often say to myself and to my students, if there's one thing while you close your eyes to tattoo behind your eyelids, is that nobody can ever love you more than you love yourself. Nobody can ever love you more than you love yourself. Because once you start to understand how to prioritize yourself first, then you become a resource for others that don't have that access to that potential, don't have access to that self-worth, self-esteem, discipline that you have self-generated by the gracious act of self-love.
Yeah, a lot of people talk about like forgiveness, right? Everybody knows that forgiveness isn't about the other person, it's about you, because when we hold on to that energy, that famous metaphor about not having forgiveness is holding like the hot coal and expecting someone else to get burned. Or drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. But what we don't realize, just based on what you said, is like we want to forgive. We have a hard time. We need to forgive other people, but we also got to forgive ourselves about our mistakes. Because if we're not forgiving ourselves, we don't have that love for ourselves. And if we don't have that love for ourselves, how can we really love anyone else?
Yeah, that was, by the way, the topic of the service yesterday by Reverend Celeste at the CCSL. And it was a very powerful speech yesterday. I really appreciated that.
Absolutely.
So the power of forgiveness, forgiving yourself. So, in your experience as a coach, what are the actual symptoms that you see in someone who is emotionally stuck? How do you recognize that? How you scan through a person based upon his body language, based upon his posture, based upon his speech? What are the things that you see when somebody comes to you and say, "Hey, coach me"?
Well, the easiest one to recognize is that people live in that fight or flight. They're usually nervous people. They can't concentrate on what you're saying because they're kind of like, they're a little bit of like, I gotta check my surroundings. I'm trying to hear what you say, but I got so much that I'm worried about, thinking about. The fight or flight, not able to relax, like you said, not able to sit quietly for 15 minutes. I had this happen to me a long time ago, and I did this with someone else. It's like we were meeting for lunch, and they were super nervous in that, and I said, "Hey, we're just gonna take a second. We're just gonna relax for a second." And they were like, "What are we gonna do? Are we gonna pray for the food? Or we blah, blah, blah?" And then I was like, "No, we're just gonna relax." And just to sit quietly for less than 5 minutes, they couldn't do it because they were such in that fight or flight system. And the reason people feel stuck is that they're in survival mode where they need to like control everything, and controlling everything is this false control. Like we cannot control the weather, we can control other people, how they behave, we can't control if they show up on time, they can't. The only thing we can control is ourselves and how we feel. And not to get into any deeper spiritual stuff about quantum physics or anything like that, but how you feel inside will change your reality. It will change the reality around you.
Right. I mean, we still have a primal structure in our brain called the amygdala, which essentially notices what's dangerous out there. Now we don't no longer live in jungles. We don't have to fear the tiger chasing and biting us. That's right. But in a modern day society, we are in 2025 now. What we fear is that, how I'm going to pay my rent, how am I going to make my ends meet, right? So people feel the pressure, even though it's not real, it's still, they perceive it as real, right? So how do you help someone shift out of survival mode, right? How do you tell people, okay, so it's okay to stand still and deframe and reframe your reality so that you can understand that you're not going to be taken out of the food chain, that we have resources in this day and age that you can tap into.
Well, not to be repetitive, but it comes back to awareness, right? To sit and be aware, like, what is it, what danger are you thinking? Like you said, the thought loop. It might be something that happened and you just run over and over and over in your mind. And we all know that you can emotionally think of something that could get you fired up. It can race your heart. You can start sweating from it just by thought alone.
Yes.
So to identify what loop are you running, what program are you just keep running over and over, and start to be still enough to become aware of that. And then track that down and start to release those ideas and that fear around it. Because if you really look at stuff, like whether it be your bills or your coworker or whatever, you're not gonna die, right? You're not gonna you might lose your house, but you're not gonna die. Like, we could get down to really getting down to it.
Absolutely.
And then we realize it's like a lot of times people worry, 70% of the time, the stuff you worry about never comes true.
Correct. Yep.
So
that's what Neil Donald Walsh said in his Conversations with God, and he talks about fear.
Yeah.
Dr. Hawkins talks about transcending the fear of death. If you transcend the fear of death, all the other fears collapse.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right.
He uses this technique called "and then what?" I'm going to lose my house, and then what? And all fears, if you look at the collection of fears that we have, they all end up with the fear of death.
Yeah.
Right? So all these masters say that if you are not scared of dying, then you're not scared of living. And also talking about how we can help people release the past. The past does not have any reality, as Dr. Hawkins explains all the time. The only real experience is the now moment. We see it in Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now.
Yeah.
Right? So talking about the past, not even talking about the anticipation of the future, which can lead into more anxiety and fear. So why is releasing the past the foundation of all transformation?
Well, I like how you word that, releasing the past, because our major issue is we're trying to change the past.
Yes.
We're trying to change it. We think about it. We Dr. Joe Dispenza draws this out on his whiteboard. He says you have all these thoughts about the past and the future, the worry about the future and the past, and then you have the same thoughts the next day. So you pretty much take that day and put it on the next day. But we try to change we try to change it where we can just release it and learn from it, and let go of the past so we can start to create a future. Our past doesn't have to dictate our future.
Correct.
Right? But it's the letting go. It's the letting go of that program, of that thought loop of like why this happened, or that person did me wrong, or I can't believe my life's like this, or whatever. It's until you start letting that go, you're never really going to create your future.
So we are born as a blank slate, right? At least that's biologically, we acquire skills through experience, right? You learn how to be, to work the drywalls, for example, because somebody taught you. Even myself, becoming bilingual, having the knowledge of 2 languages and speak them fluent is an acquired skill. But putting all those skills to fruition in the now moment, it's what generates real, true transformation, right? So, how do you essentially think that stored emotions and experiences from the past influence the present moment, and how can we start fresh every single day, right?
Well, using the past as a guide to help you create your future. If we look at our past from a standpoint of what I learned from that, and not bring the emotion with it.
Okay.
It's when we hold on to those emotions from the past. It's
Yes.
gonna like dictate how our future goes. If we could let go of the emotion, forgiving the person, forgiving yourself, and take it as a lesson, then we could create our future using that knowledge. But so many of us are trying to bring that emotion, and we're not letting go of that emotion. We're just running that emotion, that thought loop, and then that's why our life doesn't usually change.
What is your approach when you approach senior citizens, for example, elderly people? They will typically, because they're no longer as active physically, they will try to bring up emotions and memories of the past. If you talk to anybody, your grandparents, for example, they will be telling you, oh, but in my days things were better, right? So how do you transcend that? How do you take that advice, take those concepts and reframe that in a way that you're not affected by their past?
I usually don't even, I don't try to ever work with the elderly because I see other people, no matter what age, that want to change, that are still growing. And I see other people that are just stuck in their ways, if you will. Like I said earlier, it's like life has to be a continual growth mindset.
Yes.
If you're not growing, people will say you're dying.
You're dying. Tony Robbins.
Yeah, so a lot of people say that, right? It's almost in nature as well. It is in nature. So if you have a growth mindset, you're always going to be like learning and working and being better. Not in the sense of you can't have peace, right? Not in the sense of like, oh, I gotta have the next goal or I gotta change myself. But having that sense of like, I do want to work in something my passion, or I do want to stay healthy, or whatever it may be. It's a growth mindset, but also having peace just to be as well. That could be part of your growth, being more peaceful every day.
Have you ever found people in your experience, or people that are contemplating change, that are contemplating using the mentorship of the coach, but you can tell they're like uncoachable? They will be the ones that they approach you, but in the end they want to do exactly what they really want to do. They're going to be thinking in the background, who are you to tell me what's right and what's wrong? So how do you approach those people? Have you ever come to a point where you say, hey, you're not a good fit?
Yeah, there is people that I wouldn't work with. They have to be flexible about their belief. If you already know everything, there's nothing that you can do for them. It reminds me of the monk that was the young monk come to say, I want to learn from you. And then when he said he was getting ready to pour some tea, and the young monk was like, I already know this, I already know this, I already know this, I already know this. And the older monk started pouring the tea, and he just kept pouring it and pouring it. It was overflowing everywhere. The other guy was like, hey, what are you doing? He's like, well, if you can't fit any more in your cup, then what can you learn? Right?
Exactly.
So you have to be open to learning. But, you've all heard the idea of like, everyone's doing the best they can with what they got, right?
Correct. That's all we can do.
Yeah, so if you have a desire to change and you're not changing, it's because of you, right? Everything in your life, everything that happens in your life, your relationships, your job, your money, your quality of life, your health, they all have one common denominator. It's you. That's you. So if you're not willing, if you want something different, but you're not willing to change the way you think and everything, you're going to live the same life you're living because it's you. It's the way you think.
Can I ask you, so you've been living in St. Louis your whole life, right? So you've been embedded, your reality has been shaped by the collective consciousness of St. Louis as a Midwest city compared to other places like Colorado, California, where Hawaii, places where you may think there is more open-mindedness in regards to holistic approaches to healing. Right, so in your experience living and being grown up in St. Louis and of now starting this Awakening Your Potential business, do you think that you are sometimes working against the grain or swimming upstream because of just the mainstream thinking? I've heard that there's a culture in St. Louis that people want to be independent, want to think on their own. I can do it myself. I can figure out myself out of this pride or illusion of pride. I am self-sufficient. I don't need a coach. Who are you to tell me what to do? So, what do you think? As a St. Louis resident for so long.
Well, I think the biggest problem, and I had an ex-girlfriend used to do this. She was from a different country, and she used to say people in Missouri. Right? She used these general terms, and I always ask her, how many people from Missouri have you met? Right? So when you say people in St. Louis, well, there might be a collective group, but there's individuals everywhere. You know, so it's not like all people in Colorado are the same. All people in St. Louis are the same.
True.
So there might be a majority that think this way, but there's a lot of individuals that think differently. So with planes and the internet, the world is a lot smaller these days. You know, like you could get different cultures learning just on YouTube alone, or different workshops from all over the countries. I personally fly to different parts of the country and the world to do
you
workshops.
were just in Florida last week, right?
Yeah, Florida, Denver before that, Mexico for retreats and stuff.
Cool. That's freedom right there.
Yeah, I mean, anyway, it's pretty easy, these days to jump on a plane and go to workshops, and you don't have to be wealthy to do a workshop. But when I do some workshops, I'm with people from all around the world.
Correct. Yes.
But as far as like the St. Louis and Missouri collective, there's people of all walks of life here. There's people of all different kinds of ways. I mean, what I found was when I lived in my little circle, my little bubble.
Yes.
I thought everyone was the same, right?
Okay.
It's like, but it was me. It was when I started to step out of that way of thinking that led me to other things. One of the best things for me was I got into a network marketing group, and some people are like, network marketing is terrible or whatever, and I actually thought I was going to make a whole bunch of money, which was my hope.
Yep.
But and I didn't. But what I did get was the personal development. It was in rooms with people who are making $40,000 a month, telling me what books they read, what YouTube videos they watch, how they thought about things, and it changed my mindset. So the personal development was priceless in that. But I had to get out of that circle of, there's this saying, like, you make the average of their 7 closest friends, right?
Yes.
And if you look, and I always wanted to put up images.
Law of conformity.
Yeah, I always wanted to put up images like that. If you work, my ex-wife worked in a corporation. They all dress the same. They all look the same. When you work in constructions, everyone has beards and everybody wears work boots. Like, you start having these looks. You start looking like the people that you people around.
Yes.
And you make the same kind of money. You think the same way. You usually drink the same stuff. You know what I mean? I was at the bar. I wasn't with people that drink martinis. We're drinking beer, domestic beer. You know what I mean? So we get that routine, like you said. We start to hang out. We go to the same places, the same coffee shops, the same bars, and we think the same way. And somewhere down in our souls or whatever, we start to have this desire.
Yeah.
That's where midlife crisis comes in. Is we have this desire to be something else, but we're stuck in the same collective way of thinking.
Correct.
We think the same, but our emotions are trying to wake up and be something different, and that's why people start having depression or sadness around that.
I was thinking about, made me think of, the law of conformity. People wearing the same clothes, maybe the company brand. They walk around with company brands. And I formed Yogaphora LLC. This is my shirt. This is what I wear almost every day. And I always thought, I want to create a business where collaboration is more important than competition. Even if I find people that want to work with me, I don't see myself as somebody that offers employment, but instead offers collaboration, because I realize the unique the uniqueness of each individual talent that we've been given rent-free by our Creator. So, because once you settle into another person's creation, that is their logo, their brand, their protocols, then you're discounting your own potential. Is what Carl Jung used to call an individuation. Understanding your true self and your unique expression amongst 8 billion people on planet Earth, not counting the animal creatures. But so what does in your freedom coaching, what does it mean, individuation, finding yourself, your unique expression? You are the only person that you bring along with you everywhere you go.
Again, about awareness and stillness, like knowing what you want. But I like what you said about collaboration, and I'm kind of down on public schools. Like the training that we get in schools is like, do your own test, don't cheat off people. Like there's no part of collaboration. But when I moved from the idea of hours for dollars, and I moved into real estate, the lack mentality was all about competition, and I got to do good for me and not worry about you. Real estate people were more abundant mindset of like, how can we help? How can we have a win-win? So I found myself wanting to be around people instead of sitting around talking about other people, talking about how shitty things were and how much taxes you have to pay. I like be around people that were talking about vision and goals and things like that. When you hang out with people that talk about vision and goals, they take a genuine interest in you, and they might ask you questions about your goals that could help inspire you or to make you do a little bit more in-depth thought process about what you really want. I like being around people that meditate because they know how to go inward. And when you're going inward, you don't usually blame people for your circumstances. But that whole part about stillness and having time, and I'm not talking about like 2-hour meditations every day, but if you don't have time to sit midday, morning, or at night to sit and just think about, am I where I want to be? What do I really want? How do I feel right now? You don't have that self-inquiry, you're going to get into a habitual, mindless routine that you're just going to, like, one day go, man, where did the time go? And,
so now, let's be practical. Let's set up like a practical scenario. For example, let's say that I am an employee of a corporation. Or maybe an employee, I work at Whole Foods or McDonald's, whatever. I sign up for a repetitive job, flipping burgers or filling up shelves, right? And even though I'm making a paycheck, look, I'm paying my bills and I get my survival needs met, I'm still feeling that bug of unfulfillment, right? Because what you say, it's about discovering their true purpose in life, right? So I'm coming to you and I say, Michael, please help me discover my purpose. I'm sick and tired and this job is actually physically making me sick.
Yeah.
What can you do for me?
Well, I have a couple exercises that I do. That I wouldn't tell you now, but if you hired me as a coach, I would have to do these exercises, which would actually try to really hone in on what matters to you the most, what's important to you, your values. That's the premise. Like, you have to know that, because if you don't discover that and have that to fuel your decision making, that you're, because change is not the easiest thing, right? And like, think of it as a pendulum. Like, somebody that's overweight, 150 pounds overweight, they're not going to be able to go to the gym for a couple weeks and swing that pendulum and fix it. The pendulum's way over here, so they guys, Same with your beliefs about money. If you believe that if you believe this your whole life, that you have to work hard for your money, then you really need to change that pendulum. And that's sometimes challenging and difficult. But if you have the fuel of knowing what you want and why you want it, then you can get through those times, it's like, well, this is kind of hard today. I don't think I want to do that. Well, if it's important enough, if you believe in enough of that, then you're going to have that support. The other thing is about belief, of like your belief of how you need to make money is just a belief. You were taught that belief.
Yes.
If we did look at that belief and know it's just a belief, it's not true. You don't have to go to that job to make money. People believe 100% because of school and program and society that you have to trade hours for dollars.
Correct.
Bob Proctor said that's the worst way to make money. He flat out said that is the worst way to make money. Now, if you believe that there's 100 other ways to make money without trading hours for dollars, and you believe that, then your mind is so, we call it the reticular activating system, right?
Totally. I'm very familiar.
Yeah, so the reticular activating system filters out information that you think is unnecessary. So a very good example is if I was going to go to Hawaii, and I had this trip planned, and I'm in a crowded room, and then you say something about Hawaii on the other side of the room, my reticular activating system is tuned in on that. Now I would come over and talk to you because that's on my mind. If I wasn't going to Hawaii, that wouldn't even be in my forefront. So when you change your belief and realize there's other ways to make money, then your reticular activating starts to let that information in, and it's all over. It's all over. We're not tuned into it.
Direct our attention, intention towards
so
things that are relevant to us.
It's about like, what is it? Let's find out what you really want. What's important.
Yes.
Like I said, I have a couple exercises for that because we don't really know how to do that sometimes. Find out that, let that fuel your time of being uncomfortable, because when you change, maybe sobriety is the easy one, right? Like if you really want to be healthy and sober, and you find out why, maybe it's for your kids. Like maybe you think it's like you're doing this to numb out yourself, but your kids are the most important thing in your world, and you don't want to teach them this lifestyle, and you want to do it for them. Well, that's important enough, because the day you have a shitty day at work, you're going to be like, man, I really want that beer. I really want that. But you realize this is what I'm doing it for. It's going to really help you. If it's just for like, I think I just want to be healthier. Well, Monday comes, it ain't going to last. You know? Of
course. So that kind of thing has a time limit. That kind of motivation has time limit. So finding your bigger why is important. You mentioned your kids. Everything I do, for example, I do for my boy. But can I ask you something? Do you have something else to say?
Yeah, one thing I wrote down a while back, and this is a question that probably people have heard many times, is that what would you do if you knew without a doubt you would not fail?
That's a good question.
If you write that down, because if you're trying to do something and you're not doing it, it's because it's something you're thinking it's not going to work. You're going to fail at it. But what would you do if you knew without a doubt you would fail?
You're not going to fail. Yes.
You would do incredible things.
That's how I started Yogaphora, with exactly that thought.
Yeah.
I thought I worked for somebody else for several spas and wellness centers. I worked for somebody else for 24 years, and I always had that feeling of having to settle for less than what I'm worth, until I woke up one day and I told to myself, I know how to apply system, process, and application, because I've acquired the skills and experience in this particular massage therapy field. And then I had the vision in the mind, and then I developed the brand, and then I put it into a blueprint. I wrote down things, and now I have a business plan and everything. But it all started with thought.
Yeah. That's
interesting. Beautiful. I'm so glad you brought that up. So now I want to ask you a question about again, going back to the concept of collaboration over competition, right? So once we have ensured that we have our basic survival needs met, right? A place to sleep, enough food to eat, and I'm sure there is a lot of abundance of food in America. Even if you try to starve to death, they're going to force feed you, so it's impossible to really die from starvation in America. Unless they cut off your SNAP benefits. I was joking. So my question is, how do you differentiate ego-driven purpose from soul-driven purpose? Because, most spiritual mentors want you to practice what we call the death of the ego. You know, you transcend the illusion of separateness, yourself, your 50 trillion cells, and taking care of only of your person versus soul-driven purpose, when it's about the collective, when it's about, you know, contributing to the world at large, and not just to acquiring and essentially sending money or resources to your bank account.
Yeah, well, from what I know about the ego, it's usually to keep you safe.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
One of the things I had to get over and learn was a feeling of not enough. Like I wasn't good enough, or I wasn't enough. So everything based on doing something to try to fill that void was ego driven, because it was all about me and taking care of that need. Well, that's just like a drug type of ego driven is like a drug. You'll just need more. And
it's
more
insatiable,
and more.
right?
Yeah, right. You'll never be able to satisfy it until you take care of that situation. And the soul, my belief about the, and without getting into the whole spiritual quantum physics part of it, I believe that we're all connected, right? We all have this, like, if I'm mean to you, I'm being mean to myself. I'm nice. If I love to you, then I'm loving myself. And when it's ego driven, it's for ourselves. It's never really going to satisfy. It could be a win-win where it's good for you, but usually when you're giving to others, I really believe that when you have enough, then say you have all the money you have and you travel as much as you want, you buy the nice cars, the big house, the great wines collection and all that stuff. Where does it stop? You're going to want more and more and more. When you give to others, when you help someone else get out of the gutter, or like, you know, change your life, that's the most satisfying thing in my eyes. And I think that's the soul-driven purpose.
The work from Dr. Hawkins, which I admire and I think it's sublime, he says that, you know, we're all mirroring each other. You can picture everything and everyone as if they are an electromagnetic field, and that electromagnetic field draws to you that which is of your own level of consciousness. In fact, he mentioned the map of consciousness, right? So the levels below 200, aka, you know, fear, anger, pride, apathy, you know, they all calibrate below 200 because they're inherently destructive to life itself. Anything above 200, so courage, neutrality, acceptance, joy, unconditional love, etc., are life constructive, right? So how does that resonate with you when it comes to your internal level of consciousness? If you step out of here, for example, today, and you approach anybody on the street, even the cashier or the register, and it's, do you think that we actually are able to mirror each other, projecting and radiating healing and positive energy just by our own presence, based upon what we feel inside?
You know, looking at quantum physics, the science behind it, we all know all matter is vibration, right?
Yes.
And we have the same, what you're talking about, the energy work, and that it's all vibrational.
Yes.
But like I said earlier in this interview, is that when you change how you feel inside, your reality starts to change, because your vibration starts to match different people, different situations. I believe, like, you know, everyone's heard not everyone, but tuning forks. If you hit a tuning fork of C, then the C is going to vibrate. It's going to match that vibration.
Yes.
Well, depending on the vibrational level, if someone's, you know, vibrating down here at a 200, like you said, and someone's at an 800, depending on the stronger vibration, you're gonna bring someone up, or they're gonna bring you down, or you're not going to
counterbalance.
Yeah, or you're not going to be able to be in the same room, or you're gonna want to get away from that. You know, it's like if you go to a party and the people that are usually talking about goals and vision, they're probably going to congregate over here in this section. They're going to end up fighting each other at the party.
Yes.
The people that are complaining are going to be over here, you know. There's a great
Like attracts alike, as
Yeah.
they say. Or
There's
birds of feather flock together.
Yeah, there's a great book called The Complaint-Free World. I suggest everyone read that
Okay.
because it was part of my
Complaint-Free
curriculum in a class I was taking, and I was like, well, I don't complain. I don't really complain. Well, I read that book, I realized I complain a lot. But it says, like, if you are used to complaining with your coworkers in the morning at the water cooler or the coffee pot or whatever, then once you start not complaining with those people, they're not going to want to hang out with you anymore.
Correct.
You know, you're not going to want to hang out with
You're
them.
radiating negativity.
Yeah, naturally you're going to end up finding someone else that talks about something different. That's the same with the way we think and feel. If we are completely in blame or resentment, boy, we're going to find all kinds of people to complain with. And blame. Like, you want to blame your boss? Well, I blame it. My boss is shitty too. Like, ooh, like let's talk about that. Let's really get into it. If you're working on your business and you're excited about something, man, I love that for you. I'm working on something too. You wrote a book. I wrote a book. Like, we vibe. We're going to meet those different peoples in our life. We're going to attract situations based on our vibration.
Correct. Speaking of vibration, you know, I mentioned this to the yoga students the other day when we did the Friendsgiving party at the Blue Sky Yoga Studio. Big shout out to Mrs. Annie Trexel, a good friend of mine. So I mentioned that in this lifetime we're called to essentially we're called to make choices more based out of love, other than fear, right? There's always this dichotomy of love versus fear, right? So the challenge of humanity is to make the choices that are aligned with the vibrational frequency of love. A loving thought carries a different electromagnetic signature than a thought that is coming from fear.
Absolutely.
All right. So like to say, you mentioned a person that complains. If you can become a person that embodies the presence of love, then automatically you're going to counterbalance the negativity. You tend to repel the negativity of others, right? Immediately you pick up on that frequency, you can either reject it or step away, and or be an influencer. Being an influencer to others just by embodying that presence, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think, like I said, I've learned that all the emotions, all the drive behind people, emotions, is those two core emotions. You're living out of love or fear.
Yes.
Fear creates that part about false control. Like when you fear, you want to like make sure things are gonna people are gonna do the things, you're safe, and that control, that contraction, if you will, is going to bring in situations that make you feel more out of control, which is going to want you to make you control, and it's just like a spiral.
It's spiral.
Love is about like trusting, right? If you're in a relationship and you're in have that love versus fear. If you're in fear, what is that person doing while they're out? What if they go out here and do this? What if they cheat? What if they leave me? What if you out of love, you love them regardless? You know you have that trust, and that's the same way with life. Like when you have love, you find more things to love and more gratitude, and then pretty soon you have more things to focus on. The vibration attracts the people. Love equals trust to me, and fear equals control or false control.
Remember, Sting songs? I think Sting songs are always high consciousness. But there's one song that is called "If You Love Somebody, Set Them Free." Free, free, set them free. If you love somebody. Yeah, absolutely. So, let me ask you a few more questions, because this conversation is absolutely amazing, and I just want to touch base on some of the core principles of your coachings. And let's see, one second. I had some questions about your influences as well. Oh, this is an interesting topic. I want to just have a little nugget of your thoughts, your your feelings about this. As you know, we're both, adults, male. We both have a nice, beautiful men bun, or not men. Yeah, you have a little men bun.
Yeah.
A little ponytail, right? We mentioned this author, David Deida, and you've read his book, The Way of Superior Man, right? And you and I were both single men, right? And so we are constantly, again, called to choose love over fear in ever more challenging circumstances. In other words, we are also called to navigate the energies of masculine and feminine, the world of being a man and the world of being a woman. In my Yogaphora Conversations, I love to include a blend of both, the energy of men and women, sometimes at the same time, right? Sometimes people create, in our circles, there is a tendency to create pockets of only for men circles. For example, at the MK Project, the Mankind Projects, have you ever heard of that?
No? Sure. Yeah.
It's a big organization, support just for men. In the women's world, they tend to create other pockets where there's no men allowed into it. I don't know if you ever heard of this organization called Babes in Business.
No, I haven't.
No sausages allowed in Babes in Businesses. Only women.
Oh, my goodness.
How has David Deida shaped your understanding of masculine and feminine energies, and how does that show up in your present reality as a father, as a man, as a business entrepreneur? How do you keep navigating that?
Oh. Yeah, I'm not real familiar with his work. I did read his book.
Okay.
For me, I have just the understanding of myself of having that masculine energy, but also feminine energy as well. Because the way from my work of what I've done is that I understand there's like this tough guy, part of me.
Macho.
Yeah, I used to hunt deer and like wrestle in bars and do that kind of stuff.
You still have a beard, which is also associated with masculinity, right?
Yeah, I still have that. I still play soccer and I like to get out there and be rough on the field and stuff. But also I have this little inner child, this little boy inside that wants to be seen and heard. For years I just tried to like shove him down there. It's like, we ain't got time to feel soft. We're a man, I grew up with that. I grew up with the rub some dirt on it type of mentality. But I realized that was all bullshit. Like, it's all like bullshit. Like, if you have a feminine aspect, a little boy inside you, a little girl inside you, and they want to be heard, then you need to like hear that. You need to honor that and see what that's about.
Absolutely.
So I started realizing, like, I used to, when I was a wrestler in school, right? I like to be rough and tough. And then I like to play drums. I like to beat on drums and play heavy metal music. But then I discovered piano. I like to play piano because I had this softer side in me that wants to be more mellow. That's what I loved about weed, is because I drinking all this beer and it's like making me rowdy. And then I started smoking, it's like calm me down, because I was just, I had to use that because instead of just paying attention to my feelings, without all that stuff, I could have had both of those things. It's just about being aware and paying attention to that part of the side that you feel, because sometimes I want to be soft and vulnerable. I want to feel safe, and then other times I want to go out and conquer the world. I want to go score some soccer goals and things like that. I like to be manly, but you have to have that balance.
Absolutely. In fact, most of our spiritual mentors lead us toward to transcending the illusion of separateness between the male and the female, and even the word yoga itself means unity, means transcending the dichotomies, and so ultimately what we're all after is a feeling of love, it's a feeling of comfort, it's a feeling of safety, it's a feeling of belonging, right?
Yeah.
So that's why even though I understand that my industry, massage and yoga, are as a structure are primarily female dominated. I wish if there was one message I could tell to my audience, is that we don't have to be we don't have to be adversaries. We have to cooperate and tolerate each other in oneness. Yes, because it's beautiful. It's beautiful to mesh everybody's energy.
Yeah, one of the I like what you said there, because one of the books I read called A Super Cool Life, I believe that's the title. Great small book. He was, I think he's a therapist, and he had a practice, and he was trying to help people, but realized they weren't really getting any better because he kept asking, "What do you want? What do you want? What do you want?" Until he changed the question around to, "How do you want to feel?"
Yes.
How do you want to feel? Because everything that we do in life, everything we want, every relationship, everything we do, is the end result of a feeling.
Absolutely.
And then, and sometimes we think we got to do this, this, and this because this is what we want. But if we think about what we want to feel first,
right,
we realize we don't have to do half that stuff.
Correct.
We can do this one thing to make us feel that way. And then Dr. Joe Dispenza's work and the way quantum physics work is you don't even have to wait for that thing to happen for you to get that feeling. We can conjure up all these feelings ourselves.
Right. Now, can I ask you, in your personal experience, what is the difference between having a vision and making it a fantasy, right? Because everything that is material, was built, it was designed, even this building itself was
100%.
created by an initial thought, then the thought creating the concrete matter, right?
Yes.
So there was a transition point between the development of the picture, of the vision, and the manifestation in physical matter reality. So, through your own bullshit detector, do you ever catch yourself thinking too big? Oh, my vision does not match what I can physically are capable of manifesting.
Yeah, I think that's a very good question because when I was early on teaching people in real estate, coaching them, I'd ask them what do they want, like what do they want to make, And the thing is, like in real estate, as far as money is concerned, you can make anything you want. I mean, it's really limitless. But for the individual, it has to be believable.
Yeah.
It's like some people are like, well, I want to make $1 million.
Yep.
Well, you never made $1 million, and you're making $80,000 a year. Like, what's your belief level? And then what I would say in real estate is like, okay, you want to make $1 million. How much time do you have to put into this? Well, about 2 hours a week. Well, like that's going to be really difficult to manage, like to do that. So your vision has to be based on a belief that you can accomplish that. Because if you don't, if you like for simplicity, if you wanted some yummy coffee and there's a Starbucks down the road and you got $8 in your pocket, your belief level of getting that coffee is pretty strong, right? But if you wanted to have this best cappuccino you've ever had in Italy, and you only have...
Or come to get a mocha espresso directly from the source, Mr. Spadafora.
So you have to have some belief, like you're going to be able to travel, you're going to be able to like make this happen, but it's not too far off, right? You get a plane ticket, you take some time off, you get some, save some money or whatever it takes. You can believe that.
Yes.
If you have a desire to have a coffee in every country in the next 20 days, and you only have $2,000 in your bank account, you're going to be off, right?
Of course. Yes.
So your vision has to be strong enough to make you have a desire to it's going to be something different in your life.
Yep.
But also believable that you can reach it, because if you don't think you could ever reach it, how much power is that going to give you in your day-to-day life? And like when kids have that, the best thing we had as kids that we don't use anymore because we have so many phones and everything, was our imagination.
Right.
Imagination is a muscle.
Yes.
Like it could be stronger.
Yes.
Kids, I would fantasize. I wanted a dirt bike, right? I wanted this, dirt bike and jump ramps and stuff like that. I would fantasize about that. I had posters on my wall. I was immersed in that thought process.
Yep.
Do you think I ever had dirt bikes in my life? Of course.
Yes.
I had a couple. I had multiple dirt bikes because I dwelled on that. I had that idea. When you have that vision and like we said, what would I do if I knew I couldn't fail? And you knew the only way you could really fail in life is you just quit. You give up,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Anything you want to accomplish, it might take you longer
Yes.
in life, but anything you want can be accomplished, and you will never fail if you don't give up.
Yeah.
But that vision, just because you make a vision, you know, you don't have to get that vision and that's your life. You make another vision.
Correct.
You know, another vision. But it's got to be far enough away to get you excited,
Yeah.
but not too far away to where you don't believe it.
Mm-hmm. Remember when I was a kid, I had, and I still do, if I go back to my hometown and my bedroom, I still had a picture of the United States, the map of the United States.
Right on.
I had it in front of me every time I would wake up or go to bed.
Yes.
And that picture became something to aim for. And then eventually I attracted people and situations that eventually led me here. Now I am a U.S. citizen. Yeah.
Right.
So
That's awesome.
the power of manifestation. One more thing. So now this is last topic I want to talk about with you today before we close and talk about your upcoming event. So obviously you must be a believer yourself, even if you don't label God in a traditional sense as a Catholic or Christian, whatever. In fact, you know, we met at CSL, Center for Spiritual Living, which is, doesn't subscribe to a very specific religion type. But we share an author that we have read a lot, Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh. So what did you learn from him and about identity and divine connection? Right. And what is your relationship with divine on a day-to-day, if you want to share?
Yeah, I think the majority of people in life believe there's something bigger,
Yes.
right? There's some kind of creator.
Yes.
I grew up with the idea of saying God was like control, guilt,
Oh, yes.
fear, you know,
Fear, of course.
and hell and all that stuff.
Of course. You have to confess to somebody your sins.
Yeah, I never really subscribed to that. I didn't think that this person that created everything was kind of like a vengeful type of person. I believe I kind of believe that creator is like me with my kids. I've created some kids, if you will. I love them no matter what they would ever do. I guide them to do the best they can.
Yes.
And whether they do the things they do, they're going to have their own life to experience and their own mistakes and trials and tribulations and all that. I'm going to love them no matter what.
Yes.
I want the best for them no matter what. And I believe that. But what I kind of went through before I get into the spiritual sense is I didn't, everyone had this idea, it's like, this is the way it is, or this is the way it is. And when you started to tell me this is the only way, because it's a big world out there, you know, there's Christians, and then there's monks, there's Chinese, there's, you
can get lost into all
yeah,
their philosophical
yeah.
frameworks and concepts.
Right.
Yes.
So when someone said this is the way and the only way, I kind of ran from that. So I was kind of an agnostic for a really long time.
There you were?
And then I went into the science and behind quantum physics and the idea that we're all connected and how the energy's never, always will be and never dies and all that. That gave me an idea of what my spiritual belief is about. And I do believe that there's something bigger that's keeping us all connected and out there. I'm trying not to get into the religious aspect because it kind of divides an audience and people, they get stuck in this whole idea of belief.
Right. Well, some authors, describe God as consciousness, or awareness, right? Yeah. And so some people can describe that, can put it into words by saying that we're all individuated units of consciousness, operating independently. We have some level of free will. We can influence each other through our choices. But ultimately, everything leads to all roads lead to Rome. That means to love.
Yeah.
And so, so in your experience, how do you sense your own individuated connection to the divine? When you close your eyes and you zone out from your kids, your family, your outer world, and it's just you and your presence with divinity. When you get in stillness, you also get in silence, right?
Yeah.
Dr. Hawkins describes, the connection we got, the silence between the thoughts. Right?
Yeah.
The universe is pure silence. God is pure silence.
Yeah, Dr. Teresa Bullock describes that as this space in between, right?
Yes, the space in between.
There's my connection comes from in meditation is when I forget about who I am, just basically removing myself out of the way.
Remove the I, yeah.
Yeah, like the concept of time, the concept of space, and all these things, and get rid of all that stuff.
Yes.
And then be pure connection with the purity. Like the quantum physics shows us that matter is 0.00009 of what reality is, and the rest of it is the majority of what it is.
Yes.
We can't even see that with our senses. We can't even see that with our senses. We have to get with that without our senses, and that's the trick for most people.
It is a trick. In fact, Dr. Hawkins says that that which is limitless, has no beginning and ending, and has no time and space, is in a different paradigm, in a different level of paradigm than proof. So proof is the world of the 400, what he says, the 400s, which includes the realm of science. In science, you must prove with evidence and with experiments what reality is. If you go to the hospital, for example, for any sickness, they will scan through the body and tell you exactly, what's going on into one of your organs through the science of their model of belief, the traditional medicine. They will tell you, okay, so if you do this, if you take this medicine, we're going to change the chemistry of your body, we're going to heal your body, only to find out that it's a not tunnel with no cheese, because if you don't switch the identity first, you're going to go back and doing the same things that cause your sickness.
That's right.
Right? So, the connection with divine does not require proof. So spiritual reality, as he says, starts at 500 and up. The realm of love. Love is the energy field of 500 in the Hawkins map of consciousness. So, my exploration so far at this point in time has been studying the energy field above 200. I consider myself, I see myself through, fluctuating between all the levels. But for the most part, I reside, at 200. I like to think of that, and my ego likes to think of that. Because, I'm here, I'm as a transplant, and I have no family and support here, and I'm here with my son. But do you enjoy Dr. Hawkins' framework?
I do. I believe, most of the things I study, they all say the same thing.
Yes.
They all lead to the same path.
Yes.
Other people have different things. They all goes to the same thing. For mine is my gurus and leaders are. It's like the science is saying what the mystics have been saying for years. It's just kind of proving it to that. And I like the science because I wasn't on the just because I said so, you should believe it type of idea.
Right.
But once I understood the science and started having my path to believe, then I realized it's basically a feeling. It's like how
it's not physical.
It's your connection to it, and either you feel it or you don't. You could. It's based on your own personal relationship with it.
Just like one wonderful piece of music can raise your frequency just by listening to it. The sound of music raises your frequency for one person. But you'll just put somebody else to sleep, or just instill disgust in other people. So now let me ask you about, I want to talk about your upcoming event. So number one, what inspired you to host this Awaken Your Potential? Don't wait for the new year. And why is that so powerful, this transformation before January 1st? Now, we are in November, end of November, almost Thanksgiving.
Yeah, well, if you look at the statistics around the whole goal setting after an event, in January,
yes,
it doesn't last. It's like this idea of it's a new year, should be a new me, and I'm going to wait for this to really implement it. Well, if you use that as your catalyst, it's not that vision, that why we were talking about to sustain it.
Right.
It's an idea that people have been doing for years. It's like, oh, a year did I don't like we use these fiscal years, we use these quarters in that. That's a business thing.
Yeah, that's a man-made legal structure.
That's for business and taxes. That's not for life. For
business and taxes,
right?
Correct.
We try to base our life on that thing. When my changes were always like, well, this Monday I'm going to do it. This is the Monday I'm going to stop drinking or something. It was always, and I call that come based on that's tomorrow program. Like tomorrow is going to be better to change. Well, why is tomorrow going to be better? Like you're going to be the same person you were today tomorrow. You know, like it's so that idea. If you have a desire to change, start now.
Yep.
Don't wait for the tomorrow program, and don't get on the same routine as everyone else, because you're going to see the whole, like that's why gyms are packed at the beginning of the year and then they start to fade off because everyone has this idea. But change, you should wait until tomorrow to make the change. You know? So that's what.
So this is the main takeaway you want the activists to live with.
Yeah.
Can you walk us through the key themes of the talk?
Well, basically about what we talked about here, you know, like the idea is like who wants change in their life, like who wants change, what are the things that are holding you back? Is there some addictions that are holding you back? Or let's like look into that, and then let's talk through the steps that's going to help you make the change.
Right.
And
there are different categories of change, right? Some people want to lose weight, for example. Some they want to lose the pounds.
Yeah.
Some people want to attract more abundance, financial abundance, to change their bank account, essentially.
So that's the idea of potential, right?
Yes.
Potential could mean anything for us, but we need to believe that we have that potential to make the change. Like that's what that book is about. Is really about belief. Like once you change the belief about what you want and about yourself, you're not going to make a change. Like if you just believe I can't do it, I can't lose that weight, I can't make money, I can't quit my job. You know, I have to work tomorrow. I have to do that. Like the one thing we'll talk about is changing the "have to" phrase. That is the worst phrase you can make, because there's really nothing in life, and people argue with me all day long.
No, Jim Rohn used to say that you don't have to do anything.
Yeah, they'll argue that I have to. No, you have consequences if you don't, but you don't have to.
Right.
You don't have to go to work on Monday. You might lose your job. Change that phrase to choose to.
Right.
I choose to, and it might change your entire life, because once you realize you're choosing to do something you hate, now you don't have to, you're choosing it. You may wake up one day and go, you know what, I'm tired of choosing this. Right. And now if you have to, your subconscious stops, says, okay, we're not going to work on that because we have to. Right. That's a game changer.
And I'm glad that we, as a transplant, I am grateful to be in this country that is not a dictatorship, or at least not yet. But you are free to make choices regarding your own individual path. Yeah. So, and why did you choose a donation-based format? Is there a specific reason? I do them too. My Italian classes are donation-based.
Yeah, I wanted to people might not know what it's about. They might not know what they're going to get from it.
So to get more accessibility to.
Yeah, so I wanted people to just kind of see for themselves if they think there's value in it, and then I want it to be for everybody. It's not
good.
Yeah. It's not about me. It's about them.
It's about them. Yeah. Wonderful. What is the 10 ways to discover what truly matters guide about?
Well, it's based on like what we've been talking about. Yeah, like some questions that kind of dig into like what really matters to you and what you value, because that's a very important part of change.
Good. Right? And who should absolutely attend this event?
That people are that want some change in their life. Some people are just they're happy. They're going through. But if you have a desire, and the cool thing about this is that, like, I love the holistic approach of life. Like, I don't know if people have seen those wheels of the questions of life. Like, you fill it out, and they have little pie graphs of like your success, your spirituality,
Yes.
your family, and
Yes.
that, and you fill it out. If you fill it out realistically, some will be high and some will be low, and it's like your life wheel. It's going to be a little rocky, a little bumpy.
Yep.
So this is a platform for. It doesn't matter what you want in life. We're going to talk about having potential to reach that vision and goals.
Wonderful. That's wonderful. So, I've heard somewhere that, in order to reach or to have access to higher levels of consciousness, some people has to hit bottom first.
Yes.
So you hit the bottom, and once there's nowhere else to dig, that's when you're reaching for help. You're you're scanning through places that would offer that kind of support.
Yeah.
So would you think that your workshop is also about, helpful for people who hit bottom?
Yeah, I mean, it's especially helpful for them, right?
Yeah.
They definitely want some change.
Yes.
But you don't have to wait for a level of chaos and desperation to want change. You could want just a little bit more money. You could want a little bit more health or whatever.
Yes. Yes.
If you feel like you're plateauing or at the bottom, then you definitely, I feel like I've been at the bottom before a couple times. And that's definitely a spot that you need that help with. A lot of people, they retreat, they go into isolation. They're ashamed of where they're at. They don't want to admit it. They don't want people to see it. But what I love about personal development in general is we're all working on some stuff.
Yes.
We all have some things we need to work on.
And we're all flawed.
We all flawed. We all have shame in our life. We all have things that we wish people didn't know about us.
Totally.
And I've been there. I've been on drugs and I've been doing crazy stuff. I didn't want people to know that either. I isolated myself. But it wasn't until I started to want help and move forward until I got out of that.
Wonderful. That's awesome. Now, last question that I ask to all of my guests. If you could give an advice to your younger self, what would that be?
This might sound cliche since I'm a coach, is I would hire a coach immediately.
Hire a coach immediately.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Right out the get-go in my 20s. I mean, as soon as I knew I wanted something different, I would have found someone doing what I want. And
what if somebody thinks, I cannot afford a coach?
Well,
because that's one of the things that hold people back, especially in this economy, right? I want help, but I cannot afford help.
Yeah, so the idea of affording is just basically putting value on what you want to buy. Because when you want a car, or your hot water heater goes out in your house, or your furnace goes out in your house, or you want to take a trip, you find ways to get money, right? And then you put value on that. One of the things for me, a good example of this, is Dr. Joe Dispenza's workshops, his retreats. He's got a 7-day retreat. And I wanted to go to that, but I didn't know how to get 7 days here, and I didn't know how to get the $5,000 for the trip and the travel and the hotel. I didn't know how to do all that. Well, once I went, then I realized the value, and I no longer have to think about it. I've been to 7 of his retreats.
Really? How much? What's the average cost for one of his retreats?
Well, the retreat itself is like $2,300. The 7 days in a hotel, usually the plane. I was probably in about $4,500 to $5,000.
Wow. How many people attend typically?
These days, 1,500.
1,500. Oh my God! I didn't even mention how much.
But to get to the first one, it took so much effort. And then once I saw the value of it, it's just part of my life. Like it's just part of life.
So you don't associate anymore. This is going to be just a burden. I'm not going to take away anything from that, and my life is going to be the same.
It's the same thing with anything in your life. Like if you have a car that you need to get to work and you don't have any money to repair it, but when it breaks down, you find ways to repair the car. And you make it work, right? And you just make it work somehow. And that's the same thing with the idea of coaching is like, well, I worked hard for my money. I was like, it took 40 hours of drywall a week is hard.
I know.
But I was buying beer and I was buying TVs and I was buying motorcycles and all these things. Well, if I spent all that money on a coach that could show me how to make $200,000 a year, I wouldn't be hanging drywall in 6 months. after that.
So
coach.
are you saying that in this coaching you also inspire or coach financial literacy? Financial literacy.
If that's what people desire, I have that background from freedom coaching to help people with a simple financial freedom formula.
Good.
The financial aspect is the easy part because it's numbers. It's math.
It's
math.
It's
It's
measurable.
the belief
I understand.
that you can get that is the challenging part. The numbers is easy.
Yeah, but I mean, again, it's a behavioral issue. Just like, we know that if you put the body into the yoga mat for 30 days, it's going to be very different if you were to put the body into McDonald's for 30 days, right?
Right.
People can understand it at a conceptual level, but at a practical level, it's the application of the knowledge. Just like, you can go to Dr. Joe Dispenza's beautiful seminars that can have great value for you, but some people can come out of it with just another shiny folder they take home, but they don't apply the knowledge. And then you just spent $2,300 plus the
I don't
hotel.
think you have to worry about that with Dr. Joe Dispenza's workshops, but maybe some others.
Okay.
But what's funny to me is like how much everyone knows that smart people invest.
Yes.
Right? Everyone knows that.
Mm-hmm.
But the most important investment you can invest is in yourself.
Yes.
Like you said, yoga,
Body care,
meditation retreats, courses in financial education,
Yes.
books,
Yes.
things that make your life better. We invest a lot in things that don't. We invest in fast food. That's such a waste of money, and it's so terrible for you.
Absolutely.
Beer,
And they still
weed,
make billions.
drugs. Like I invested so much money in that, and that was making my life worse because of my health issues. I started out playing soccer when I was high. So like we go to gym memberships is going to make us healthy. You know what I mean? Spending time in yoga and gym and meditation and eating healthy and organic. We're gonna get rewards out of that.
Yep.
And it's worth it. Like that's investing in yourself is the best thing you could do.
Wonderful. Well, Michael, thank you so much for sharing your heart, your wisdom, and your journey today. Your story is a reminder that transformation is not only possible, it's available to all of us the moment we decide to stop running from our past and start creating our future. Your work with the liberation experience is powerful, necessary, and deeply aligned with the times we're living in today in 2025. For everyone watching, if something in this conversation spoke to you, trust that inner pull. Your next chapter may begin with a single courageous intervention or conversation. And if you feel called to go deeper, you can connect with Michael directly by email at yourfreelifenow@gmail.com or by phone at 314-322-7466. Don't forget to join in live in person on Thursday, December 11, 2025 at 6 p.m. Rendezvous, Cafe and Wine Bar in O'Fallon, Missouri for Awaken Your Potential. Don't wait for the new year. Michael, thank you again. And to all watching, be well, be present, be willing to become the person your future is calling you to be. This is Yogaphora Conversations. I am Andrea Spadafora, licensed massage therapist and yoga instructor at Yogaphora LLC. I'll see you all in our next episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Arrivederci.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you for having me.
Piacere, tutto mio.